It was a little bit different than coming down all the way down the A1, so it was a little bit different.
The game promises to be a little bit different as well. Burnley pressing forward, but Steve Vickers has other ideas, and the edge of his own area clears the lines. Interesting formation and a tactical switch for Middlesbrough straight away, Jamie.
Yeah, that's right. Obviously, the gaffer's come back, and it looks like Robbie's playing the anchor man in midfield, with Alan coming in on the right, which surprised me. And it looks at the moment as if we're playing Paul and John up front together, so it'll be interesting to see how we go. And in the early stages, it will look quite fresh, and it's looking not too bad.
Early defend, and so do we. They try to attack of no more. Wayne Dowell back to his goalkeeper, Marlon Beresford, who gets the first touch for him. Only with his foot at the touch, mind you. It's a back pass, obviously, from Dowell, which you can't gather. Unlike last night, perhaps you watched Match of the Day, where Pavel Cernicek gathered a back pass. Didn't realise, I think, that it probably was a back pass. The referee certainly did. On this occasion, Marlon Beresford was not taking any chances whatsoever. Voted the 3rd Division Goalkeeper of the Year last season, 2nd Division Goalkeeper of the Year. The captain for Burnley, Steve Davis, launches a long ball forward, headed out of play. Throw in to Burnley, around about 15 yards inside their own half, far side of play. That's Burnley's left. Ball down the line goes to Adrian Randall. On ball, trying to search out the back of Middlesbrough's defence. First pitch for Brian Robson, it's not a good one. Beaten to it by Adrian Heath, but Robson to put Stewart bounce and tries to get the ball back to Neil Cox. He does, but distribution's poor. Alan Harper picks it up, experienced Alan Harper. It's a rather poor play from another experienced man, Adrian Heath. As Burnley lose their way a bit, and good battling from John Hendry, holding up the attentions of Gary Parkinson. Long ball forward from Curtis Fleming. Alan Moore had tried to sneak in between Mark Winstanley and Adrian Randall. And it was Winstanley who got the ball out of play and a throw in to Middlesbrough, near side of play, halfway inside the Burnley half. That's Middlesbrough's left. It's Curtis Fleming with a throw towards the right-hand edge of the Burnley penalty area. Ball headed across the face of that area, but thumped clear with an almighty clearance from Wayne Dowell. Pushing down to Nigel Pearson. Pearson up towards Paul Wilkinson. The layoff wasn't all that good. Alan Moore, as Jamie Pollock spotted straight away. Thing on the right-hand side today. Didn't pick up that ball. A flick on this time from Paul Wilkinson. Could reach John Hendry, but a last-ditch tackle denies Hendry the move through. Mark Winstanley with his outstretched boot there. And Gary Parkinson caught in possession. And then offside, John Hendry. A little bit unlucky. Gary Parkinson caught there by Curtis Fleming. Or caught ball watching by Curtis Fleming. A little bit unlucky that John was offside there.
Yeah, that's right. It was great closing down from Curtis, and as you say, we were a bit unfortunate there. But the lads have started off, and they're really keyed into this game. You can see the way they've started, and we're really getting up to Burnley. The key to the formation is that we are patient, and as the game goes on, we will get our chances. We've just got to be patient.
Alan Moore has won the game's first corner. It is, of course, for Middlesbrough, and it will be taken by Moore on this near side of play. We're just 4 minutes showing on the watch. 0-0 here at Turf Moor. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 0. Alan Moore, left-footed, drifts towards the back edge of the 6-yard box. Powerful header from Paul Wilkinson towards the edge of the area. Goes the headed clearance from Mark Winstanley, and over the bar it goes from Robbie Mustoe. Middlesbrough piggling for a corner there, Jamie, but it did look as if the ball came off Robbie.
To be fair, I disagree with that, because the defenders actually come in and kick the ball over his own bar, which was a blatant corner, to be fair.
You're watching the same game as me. That's what summarising and commentating is all about. You never agree about anything. 5 minutes into the first half, it's a goal kick, so therefore I must have been right. Hard luck, Jamie. It was, irrespective of whether it was a corner or otherwise, that must be a throw to Middlesbrough. The ball was played off. Well, it certainly looked as if it was played off David Ayres. The referee agrees this time that it was played by Steve Vickers off the leg of David Ayres, despite the linesman, who was up the other end of the field, couldn't see the deflection. Referee looked towards the linesman, heaven knows why. He disagreed with him when he gave the decision anyway. But there we go. Such is the state of the officialdom these days. Some confusion does tend to reign from time to time. Curtis Fleming from Middlesbrough up towards halfway line. First touch of Paul Wilkinson isn't a good one, and Gary Parkinson nips any attacking intentions in the bud. Down to Steve Davis. As Derek White watches, as Adrian Heath comes towards him, and then White takes no chances. Clears the ball out of play. Throw into Burnley, halfway inside their Middlesbrough half. Gary Parkinson takes it, expects the return ball, hasn't got it, but has now. He's a couple of yards in from the near side touchline, down Burnley's right, Gary Parkinson. It was a poor ball, David Ayres going nowhere. No, such a poor ball. An outstretched boot of Wayne Dowell just gets in front of John Henry. But Middlesbrough are breaking quickly. That's a poor ball from Paul Wilkinson. Right direction, but the application wasn't quite there. As Burnley break quickly on Middlesbrough's right, approaching the right-hand edge of Middlesbrough's penalty area. Liam Robinson twisting, turning, but the cross is poor. Picked up by Brian Robson, who just walks into centre midfield outside of his left boot, sends John Henry away. Marlon Beresford has come halfway inside his own half to get that ball. Such is the clearance from Marlon Beresford. He goes to his opposite number, Alan Miller. Alan Miller just dribbles the ball a couple of yards up from the edge of his penalty area. 7 minutes into this game, 0-0. Rather pleasant afternoon in Lancashire, truth be told. Middlesbrough started reasonably well, and Brian Robson was caught late. Was caught very late by Jamie Hoyland, and I would suggest that Jamie Hoyland would be lucky if he escapes a booking. Looks like he has, Jamie, but he's lucky to get away with that.
Yeah, that's right. He let Brian Robson know he was there in midfield. It's going to be a competitive battle for them, so as I say, just let him know. He was fortunate he didn't get a booking.
Steve Vickers with the free kick for Middlesbrough, drifted inside the penalty area. Marlon Beresford comes straight and misses it, and then he's adjudged to have been fouled by Paul Wilkinson. I find that decision incredible, to be honest. It seemed a clear jump. Paul Wilkinson going for the ball, and Marlon Beresford just flapped at it and missed it. But Burnley get the benefit of the doubt, and also the free kick which they've taken, but Neil Cox has shadowed that one every inch of the way. It's now out of play. Maybe a throw to Middlesbrough, halfway inside their own half. Far side of play, that's Middlesbrough's right. Neil Cox it is who's going to take it. And Neil Cox launches up towards halfway line, flicked on by Paul Wilkinson, but cushioned header there from Jamie Hoyland. It's Middlesbrough just struggling to get into any sort of rhythm at the moment, so too a Burnley for that matter. The ball out of play once more, a couple of yards inside the Burnley half. It's a throw to Middlesbrough. The ball right underneath the TV gantry. The retrieved by St John's ambulance man. As the shafts of the dying sunlight are just on a very small section of this ground now. Floodlights already on. The sunlight in certain corners. Always a strange feeling at this time of year when you mix sunshine with floodlights, and a rather strange feeling for Gary Parkinson, one would have thought, because he's made a right hash of a clearance and it's gone out of play, near side of play, right in front of us in the commentary position, high in the back of the main stand. Throw taken by Curtis Fleming, pushed on by Steve Vickers. Another poor clearance from the centre of the Burnley defence, this time from Mark Winstanley, and Curtis Fleming puts a great ball to John Henry. Henry turns, shoots and hits the legs of Marlon Beresford. Picked up right on edge of the penalty area by Gary Parkinson. That was good positioning by Marlon Beresford. John Henry, I don't think, realised how much time he had, but Middlesbrough continuing to battle, continuing to try and push forward, and Brian Robson just putting the ball out of play, the pressure from Gary Parkinson. John Henry unlucky, but good work from Marlon Beresford.
Yeah, that was right. It was an absolute great ball from Curtis. He picked John making the run, and a little bit disappointed John never scored there, but he did well to get in that position. As you say, it was good defending.
What goes through the player's mind? You've got a one-on-one with the keeper. Your natural reaction is just to blast it. Quite often that isn't the best way around it.
To be honest, when you're through, especially me, there's so many things go through your head, you know, and eventually you probably don't do none of them. So I think the best thing to do is just, as you say, hit it as hard as you can and hope for the best.
Unfortunately this time that wasn't quite good enough for John Henry. Middlesbrough defend. Good cross from Gary Parkinson. Firm-headed clearance from Nigel Pearson. Head and shoulders above everybody else inside that penalty area. It's picked up, the loose ball that is by Steve Davis. Poor ball from Steve Davis. Not within 20 yards of a claret and blue shirt, and out of play goes for a goal kick. The feature, I think, early on in this game, Jamie, we're 10 minutes into it. Distribution from Burnley has been fairly poor.
Yeah, that's right, but that's down to the work rate of the lads. We've really set about them and we've unsettled them, and at the moment the passing is very poor, and if we can keep that going, and you know, their fans will get frustrated and they will themselves, and I mean, it's a good sign for us at the moment, because as I say, they are a little bit frustrated.
Goal kick taken by Alan Miller, right footed. Close halfway line and a push in the back as Derek White went for the ball. And David Ayres was down injured. He's got a little bit of a nudge in the back, and treatment is called by the referee for David Ayres. Just got a touch of a nudge from Derek White. Jamie, they talk about the surface here at the Turf Moor. I don't know if you've ever played there or not, to be honest with you, but it doesn't look a bad arena in which to play. All right, be it the second, third division ground, whatever. It looks a fairly reasonable surface.
Yeah, that's right. I played here about 2 or 3 years ago, and the pitch wasn't that good then, but as you say, it looks quite nice from up here. Obviously, only the players will know from being down there if it really is of good quality, but from up here it looks quite good.
Gary Parkinson with a free kick for Burnley from just inside the Middlesbrough half, drifts towards the right-hand edge of the area. Nigel Pearson pushes Steve Vickers out of the way to head that one clear. It's picked up by Adrian Randall, right-hand edge of the Middlesbrough penalty area. Thinks about taking on John Hendry, has to come back, looks for support. That comes in the shape of Wayne Dowell. Left-footed cross, Derek White stretched, but got the vital header onto it, and Alan Moore picks it up on the left-hand edge of his area, and then he's then brought down by David Ayres in trying to set up a Middlesbrough attack and move clear himself, but Ayres just stumbling his way through. Onto the back of Alan Moore, free kick. It's going to be taken by Derek White. A couple of yards in from the near side touchline on Middlesbrough's left-hand side, and about halfway inside the Middlesbrough half, perhaps a shade nearer the goal. Flicked on by Robbie Mustoe, that free kick from Derek White. Paul Wilkinson goes up, rises high, possible push in the back from Steve Davis. Referee says play on. Middlesbrough do. Derek White heads it forward, very powerful header, but Robbie Mustoe can't pick that up. It's picked up now by Adrian Randall. Adrian Randall does very well and then tries to release Adrian Heath. Made a good run behind the ball. Steve Vickers calling Alan Miller to stay on his line, I think, on that occasion, because the ball was always going to go out. It was well read, Steve Vickers, but it seems to me that Burnley at the moment are intent on trying to get the ball over the top of the right side of Middlesbrough's defence. Yeah, that's right. They find it hard to break down our back five. As you say, at the moment they're playing long balls, and they're not getting much joy of it, so they're going to have to change it. But as I say, it's looking good for us because they've got to change the tactics, and it's a good sign. Alan Miller, the goal kick from the right-hand side of his 6-yard box. Gets some good distance, 10 yards inside the Burnley half. Paul Wilkinson climbing all over the place. Referee says play on. There's men over if John Hendry finds them. Robbie Mustoe's a chance. He's on the left-hand edge of the Burnley penalty area. Shot hits one man. Comes back to Alan Moore. Hits a second man. It's picked up by Brian Robson. Robson's first time touch isn't a good one. He seemed to catch Alan Harper a touch late, but Nigel Pearson then picked the ball up. As Burnley build though, and the breaks didn't go Middlesbrough's way. David Ayres halfway inside the Middlesbrough half. Cutting inside the left-hand edge of the area. Up on the overlap goes Gary Parkinson. Cross comes in from Gary Parkinson. Appealing for handball against Derek White. Not justifiably in one way, to be honest, but a little bit unlucky had it been given against Derek White in saying that. It's gone for a corner. I think there was clear touch on hand there, Gary, but Derek White could hardly have... Gary, I beg your pardon. Not Gary, Jamie, I beg your pardon. Looking at Gary Gill, who's sitting in front of you. I do apologise. Slightly different haircut, I must admit. We'll bring you in on the Derek White possible handball in a moment when I learn to get your name right. It's a corner to Burnley. The other side of play. Swung in. Alan Miller catches very well. Edge of the 6-yard box. Rising high. No doubt who was going to catch that one. Jamie, was it a handball there from Derek White? No, definitely not. He's just he's played the cross in. It just connected. I'm not too sure it was even his hand. So no, it'd have been very harsh if that was given. Alan Miller, very good handling. Safe and sound on the edge of the 6-yard box. Clear to his area with that goal kick. Ball bouncing loose. Curtis Fleming, authority in the edge of the centre circle. It's the ball out wide to Nigel Pearson. Pearson, right hand edge of the centre circle. Off goes Neil Cox on the overlap. Alan Moore has made a run down the line. He isn't picked out as Robson is inside the centre circle. He's inside the centre midfield, I should say. Great ball from Brian Robson. John Hendry with a shot, and John Hendry has scored! John Hendry has opened his scoring for Middlesbrough after 14 minutes. Superb work, well picked out from Brian Robson. John Hendry, leading goal scorer, goal number 12 for him this season. The opening goal at Turf Moor. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. John Hendry. Jamie, the build-up there, we were looking at Alan Moore had gone on the overlap. John Hendry has stolen a march inside, and Brian Robson picked him up perfectly. Yeah, that's right. It was an absolutely brilliant run, and as you say, it was a brilliant ball. John threatened that earlier on when he's gone through, and this time he finishes clinically. Marlon Beresford had come to try and cut the angle, but John Hendry saw him coming out the corner of his eye. That was a striker's goal, wasn't it? That was pure instinct from John Hendry. That's right. I mean, we spoke earlier about what you feel like when you go through, but John was totally calm there, and he was relaxed, and he did everything you could ask of him. It was brilliant. Could you possibly explain why every time I put a bet on John Hendry to score the opening goal of the game, he doesn't? And when you can't get a bet on a Sunday, he does. No, I can't explain that one. We don't mind. 15 minutes into the first half. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. Middlesbrough 3 points clear at the top of the table before today. Understand the scoreline at Elm Park is still Reading 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 0. West Brom 0, Luton 0 at the Hawthorns. And the 4 o'clock kick-off at Stamford Bridge was Chelsea against Liverpool. That's not kicking off for another 43 minutes or so. There's some 15 minutes into this game here. A 3:02 kick-off on a Sunday afternoon. Traditional kick-off time in English football these days, perhaps. And there again, perhaps we shouldn't be so cynical. Alan Miller, left-hand edge of his own penalty area, threatens to kick the ball and then drops it. And then takes a long kick forward. Poor header from Alan Miller, mind you. Didn't give Nigel Pearson too much chance. He was quickly closed down by David Ayres. The Middlesbrough building from inside their own half. 10 yards inside. Nigel Pearson, chip ball forward. Of course, Paul Wilkinson, neatly off, but well read by Wayne Dowell. Picked up by Neil Cox. Chip ball forward, looking for John Henry. Didn't find him. Ball bouncing loose edge of centre circle. Picked up by Adrian Heath for Burnley. Good play from Adrian Heath. Spreads direction to Gary Parkinson. Chip ball forward from Gary Parkinson. Neat little tap off there from Alan Harper. To Adrian Heath, back to Alan Harper again. We understand that Wolves have scored. Anything Middlesbrough do, Wolves seem to match. Steve Bull, the goal scorer. Reading 0, Wolves 1. Steve Bull, the goal scorer at Elm Park. Long ball forward from Brian Robson, looking for Alan Moore. Just half a yard overhit from Brian Robson. Or Alan Moore perhaps not quite up with the pace. Either way, it just skidded up the surface in the hands of Marlon Beresford. The idea was right, just not quite there, Jamie.
No, that's right, it was just a bit unfortunate, that one. I think some people feel like when you play further back it's a defensive formation, but at the moment, I mean, it's us who's doing all the attacking. We look as if we're a home team at the moment, and things are going really well. We're looking very good.
Middlesbrough building, halfway inside their own half, and putting this supposedly defensive formation to attacking use at the moment. They're 1 goal to the good. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. Long ball out of defence from Burnley this time. Steve Vickers caught in possession by Adrian Heath. Adrian Heath comes back looking for support to Liam Robinson. And Robinson caught in possession by Brian Robson. And Brian Robson does very well just to deny Robinson a chance, and the referee gets in the way as John Henry tries to play the ball back to Brian Robson, and Burnley build halfway inside the Middlesbrough half, near side of play. It's Gary Parkinson taking on Curtis Fleming, cutting in field, tries to play a neat 1-2, doesn't get the return pass, cuts into the middle. That's where the ball goes eventually from Jamie Hoyland, but cleared only as far as into the claret shirt. It's Alan Harper who has it. Harper up towards Jamie Hoyland. Hoyland throws the ball out wide. Liam Robinson to Gary Parkinson. Deep cross, ball going out to play for a corner. And Nigel Pearson just looking around to Alan Miller, saying either there wasn't a shout, or at least if there was, I didn't hear it, so make sure it comes next time. As Nigel Pearson turns round for what, watching from the stands, was a needless corner. He wasn't to know that. He did the right thing. He got his head on it and he cleared it. No shout perhaps, or at least one which he couldn't hear coming from his colleagues at the back. It's a corner to Burnley, 18 minutes into the first half. 1-0 Middlesbrough. John Henry after 14 minutes. Burnley delaying taking this corner for some reason. They've got it over now. A header comes in across the face of goal from Jamie Hoyland, but thumped clear by Robbie Mustow. It goes further up in the air than it does distance down the pitch, but beautifully brought under control by Alan Moore. Out towards John Henry. John Henry can cut his field. He has. He's beaten his last man. He's advancing towards the edge of the area. He shoots but wide this time from John Henry. And John Henry had one thought in mind as he raced on to an excellent ball from Alan Moore. He cut past Wayne Dowell, but if he looked up, he had Alan Moore who made a run alongside him. He had Paul Wilkinson who made a run alongside him. But in situations like that, there's only one thought in mind, Jamie.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, that's 3 good openings there for John today already. I think special mention there should go to Alan there, which is one of the best bit of skills I've seen for a long time. It was absolutely brilliant, and he's put John through, and unfortunately I thought John should have scored there, especially after how cool he was on the last one, but disappointing. I think we should have been 2-0 up now.
2-0 up would have been very interesting indeed to see if Burnley could have come back from that. As it is, it's 1-0, 19 minutes into this first half. John Henry, the goal scorer, but missing a good chance just a minute or so ago. Middlesbrough continue to press forward, and Neil Cox on halfway line has Wayne down in front of him, tries to send Alan Moore off on a run, but surely Mark Winstanley has that one covered. Winston Stanley has back to Marlon Beresford. It's Burnley trying to play football at the defence, and credit to Burnley, they've tried to play football throughout the afternoon. It hasn't always come off, and it certainly didn't on this occasion, as Wayne Dowell has sliced his clearance, and it's going to be a throw to Middlesbrough around about halfway line. They're backed by a travelling contingent, probably numbering around about 12 to 1500 or so here at Turf Moor this afternoon. They're happy, top of the league by 3 points, maintaining their position if this scoreline remains the same. 1-0 to Middlesbrough. It's also 1-0 to Wolves. So status quo at the top of the First Division so far. Middlesbrough defending well. Derek White putting his foot in where two claret shirts didn't want to go. But he has to watch, however, as distribution is not quite good enough to get Middlesbrough moving forward. And Alan Harper tries to slow things down a bit for Burnley and get some constructive movement. Brings in Gary Parkinson inside centre circle. Parkinson inside towards Jamie Hoyland. Hoyland under pressure. Still manages to pick out teammates. Steve Davis has the ball. Long ball forward in the general direction of David Ayres. Steve Vickers is having none of that. Headed the ball out to play left-hand edge of his own area. Throw to Burnley. Quickly taken by Alan Harper. In centre midfield now is Adrian Randall. Chip ball forward for Adrian Randall. Looking for David Ayres. He seems to be the linchpin up front, is David Ayres at the moment. But not getting any change out of Steve Vickers or any of the Middlesbrough central defence at the moment. And a neat little backheader from Derek White. But Adrian Heath got there first. Tried to get the crossover. Slid out of play by Steve Vickers. Although he thinks slightly differently. But it's going to be a corner to Burnley nevertheless. 21 minutes into this first half. It's the shade over. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. John Hendry after 14 minutes. Burnley with a corner near side of play. Swung over by David Ayres. Up goes Alan Miller once more. Gathers that ball into his 6-yard box. Jamie, the handling of Alan Miller, not just in this match but in recent matches from these crosses, has been authority in itself.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it gives the lads so much confidence to defend corners when you see your keeper come running out and claiming them. It's absolutely brilliant.
Burnley trying to use every tactic in the book at the moment, I think, to stop Middlesbrough. That's going to be a booking. Far side of play. So it looks as if it is, because the referee has taken his notebook out. It's going to be brandished. It's going to be a booking for Wayne Dowell. It's going to be a free kick to Middlesbrough as well. 10 yards inside the Burnley half, a yard or so in from the far side touchline. Long ball forward. Neil Cox inside the penalty area. Up go the heads. It's the head of Mark Winstanley which clears it. Alan Moore hits a foot on it, gets it back towards Brian Robson. Not very handball, to be honest. The referee said play on. The Middlesbrough do. And Nigel Pearson spreads the ball out wide to Neil Cox. Good run behind from Alan Moore, but Mark Winstanley read that one as well. Slightly overhead from Neil Cox. He knows it. Put his hands to his head. Now can redeem matters with a good throw from the left-hand edge of the Burnley penalty area. There's a need to change of passing with Robbie Mustoe. Good run off the ball once more from John Hendry. Can't get beyond Wayne Dowell, however, down by the corner flag. Dowell clears, out of play once more. Another throw to Middlesbrough. Concerted spell of pressure this from Middlesbrough. Ball on the left-hand edge of the Burnley penalty area. Poorly off from Alan Moore, however. And the home side can bring it away, and they do fairly quickly. Up towards halfway line with Adrian Randall. Distribution was poor, and again Middlesbrough snapping into the challenge quickly. Good run behind the Middlesbrough defence though by Adrian Heath. Almost picked out, but Alan Miller had that one covered every inch of the way. His thoughts on progress so far will be Jamie Pollock. Taking up commentary after that will be ALISTAIR BROWNLEE. But Jamie, so far so good.
Yeah, that's right. I think Viv on the bench and John Pick will be absolutely delighted with the first 25 minutes. The lads have gone about and set about the jobs, and what they've done is they've made it very difficult for Burnley to get at us. And I mean, some of our attacking players being superb, and I think the first 20 minutes are absolutely brilliant. If we can just keep that going, I'm sure it'll be by 3 or 4 rather than 1 or 2.
So John Hendry's goal then is dividing the two sides. Coming on 14 minutes, Robson, the player manager, combining with the top scorer. The Middlesbrough have their advantage. The ball is on the edge of the Boro penalty area, and it's headed back very comfortably indeed to goalkeeper Alan Miller. Just as well that Middlesbrough winning, bearing in mind that at Elm Park it's Reading 0, Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, goal scorer Steve Bull. So Bull has certainly put a smile on the face of Graham Taylor, whilst John Hendry's put a smile on the face of the Middlesbrough player manager Brian Robson, playing his first game since the 14th of September, a home victory over West Bromwich Albion. Steve Vickers then dropping back and just tucking it back towards goalkeeper Alan Miller. Miller right-footed down, just drops in front of our commentary position. We're a shed inside the Burnley half of the field. They're defending just away to the left, and Gary Parkinson is watching as Steve Davis now has the ball on the right foot. Straight down the line, Derek White goes straight, committed, hoops up in the air though, drops back towards Curtis Fleming, near side of play, back in the side after completing a suspension. Curtis Fleming crossing the halfway line now. He has to support John Hendry. Instead he tries to find Alan Moore just along the left wing, but cutting across, the Burnley captain Steve Davis. Clearance, again it drops halfway line area, touched on. The crowd here, not too large I suppose on the terraces, haven't had the official attendance given to us as yet, but they're certainly vociferous enough. And the referee, that's Philip Wright of Northwich, spots an offence. Free kick for Burnley. A few yards inside the Middlesbrough half of the field. Gary Parkinson is going to take this. Played over 200 league games for Middlesbrough before moving on to Bolton and finding his place here at Burnley. And of course, one of the players responsible for Burnley being in the First Division this season, because Gary Parkinson was one of the goal scorers in the playoff final at Wembley, and Burnley defeated Stockport by 2-1. The man I'm talking about, Gary Parkinson, now with possession. Parkinson inside the area, cross comes in, headed down by Nigel Pearson, and drops out of play near side. There's one or two fans in the main stand here appealing for handball, which is not given. 25 minutes we are into the first half. Full match commentary on a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland. The ball chipped forward by Adrian Heath inside the penalty area. The run comes across from David Ayres to near side of play. Gary Parkinson whips in the cross now, headed away comprehensively. Looked as if a knock was taken inside there as well. David Ayres, possession edge of the box. Curtis Fleming slides in to Paul Wilkinson. Wilkinson to John Henry. Henry, the long clearance, but almost certainly Mark now, the Middlesbrough physio, is called upon very quickly indeed. Down injured inside the area, Nigel Pearson looks as if he's taken a knock. It was more a case, Jamie, is when the cross came in, Nigel Pearson reacted well, but then seemed to twist when he went down.
Yeah, it was a great defensive header, and I'm not so sure if he got caught on the way down, but you know, he certainly looks as if he's in agony, so anxious moments to see if he's okay.
He really is such a tremendous influence, Nigel Pearson. He means so much to the side, and he's a tremendously gritty professional as well. He's got a little bit painfully, and pointing and having one or two words. He looks as if he's going to resume.
Yeah, that's right. He's obviously come through that. You know, it's not unusual for Nigel to get a few knocks during the game. As you say, he is a gritty player, and he will get them knocks, but he's so determined and committed for the team. You know, that rubs off on other players.
Soccer Special, BBC Radio Cleveland. The programme brought to you this afternoon from Turf Moor. It's Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. John Henry's had 3 chances. He's taken just one of them on 14 minutes, and Middlesbrough have their lead with 27 minutes into the first half. A drop ball on the halfway line as Nigel Pearson resumes his place at the centre of the defence, and Burnley rather charitably knocked the ball back to Middlesbrough goalkeeper Alan Miller. He clears it. Middlesbrough have a quick free kick. Alan Moore on towards the edge of the area, and Robbie Mustoe feeds it wide towards the far side. Middlesbrough's right wing, and Neil Cox have been supported the attack to Alan Moore. Glides in the cross now. Wilkinson reacts, hits the crossbar. The header from Wilkinson hits the bar, comes down, and Mark Winstanley with some difficulty clears. Or does he? Alan Moore wins it back. Moore drills in, the cross comes short, and again Burnley are living dangerously. And again Middlesbrough are looking for opportunities. And that's 4 good chances in the first half, Jamie, and Middlesbrough just taken 1.
Yeah, it's very disappointing that we've only scored 1 out of the 4 chances, but I mean, the lads are playing superb. I mean, we're absolutely battering them at the moment, but as you say, it's a little bit worrying that we've only took 1 of the 4 chances.
A near side of play, injured is Curtis Fleming. The crowd at Turf Moor are certainly vociferous. We sat in the middle of a number of Burnley spectators who are standing up and making all sorts of gestures towards Curtis Fleming, but Curtis Fleming quite clearly is injured.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, obviously you'd expect that from the home fans. They're going to wind us up a little bit. To be fair, they're a little bit frustrated because at the moment the team is really struggling.
It's spotted you've got your Middlesbrough tie on.
Yeah, that's right. I'm my Middlesbrough big coat. I'm proud of it.
Proud to come from the Boro, proud to be with BBC Radio Cleveland. We're pleased to have him this afternoon. Jamie Pollock continuing to serve his 3-match suspension. He'll be with us, of course, on Boxing Day. And there'll be a BBC Radio Cleveland soccer special brought to you from Bramall Lane. Middlesbrough travel to play Sheffield United. There's still plenty of football left this afternoon, just crossing into the 29th minute of the game. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. Robbie Mustoe, as Curtis Fleming still receives treatment. He's off the field. Mark now doing his work well. So Middlesbrough down to 10 men at the moment. And Gary Parkinson midway inside the Burnley half of the field comes forward along the right-hand side. Attempted turn by David Ayres, but John Henry wins it for Middlesbrough. 10-man Middlesbrough. Curtis Fleming still receives treatment. Clayton Blackmore and Graham Kavanagh are going through their warm-up procedure in front of the main stand here. Derek White's trying to delay the throw in a few moments just to see if Curtis Fleming can come back on the field. We've got Curtis Fleming, Mark now, and the cameraman down there all trying to sort out Curtis Fleming's injury as Alan Moore looks to react to a flick on. Coming across is Steve Davis-Thorpe to clear for Burnley, and again the ball goes out of play, and Curtis Fleming is jogging along the touchline, and to the applause of Jamie Pollock alongside me here, Curtis Fleming resumes.
Yeah, that's right. He's still limping a wee bit, but it's good to see him back.
Curtis Fleming rejoining the defence. Steve Vickers dropping off into that role he's become accustomed to away from home, and calls for Alan Miller to come towards the edge of the area and pick up possession. There's Alan Miller just strolls across the penalty area. Middlesbrough's record, incidentally, here at Turf Moor. Not particularly good. Played here on 23 previous occasions in the league, winning just twice, drawing 7 times and losing 14 to find Middlesbrough's last league victory here. You've got to go back to August 1952. The scoreline was 1-0. There were 27,000 supporters in Turf Moor. I'd say there's probably just about 10,000 supporters in Turf Moor this afternoon. The scoreline is the same as 1952 at the moment. It's Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. John Henry, Middlesbrough's goal scorer. He's had a couple of other chances as well, and Paul Wilkinson's header has also hit the bar. Burnley have struggled to test Alan Miller. And Middlesbrough regain possession midway inside the Burnley half of the field to Brian Robson. Robson to Neil Cox. Cox to Alan Moore. Whips the ball inside the 6-yard box. Goalkeeper Marlon Beresford, who was nominated incidentally last season as the second division's player of the year. He's a fairly good goalkeeper. He just keeps possession and moves towards the edge of the penalty area. Burnley then last season they finished in 6th place in the second division, finished a couple of points behind York and 12 behind Stockport and Plymouth. But such are the vagaries of football these days, that qualifies you for a playoff position and enables you to go on, and in Burnley's case, beat Stockport at Wembley. Now they're competing, of course, in the first division. 5th from bottom, Middlesbrough top, Middlesbrough goal to the good. Brian Robson just leaves it. He heard the call behind him from Nigel Pearson. He heads it powerfully inside the Burnley half of the field, and the Burnley captain, Steve Davis, down Middlesbrough's left-hand side. Curtis Fleming slides into the challenge, but Alan Harper wins possession for Burnley. Middlesbrough win it back again. A bit of a scrappy passage of play. Eventually Burnley move towards the edge of Middlesbrough's penalty area now with Liam Robinson. Robinson on the right-hand side tries to nutmeg Steve Vickers, gets it back second time. Robinson, left-footed shot. I'll give him the benefit of the doubt that it was a shot. It goes way wide, drops over far side of play, and the ball boy collects it and will give it to the Middlesbrough goalkeeper, Alan Miller. About 13 minutes or so away from half-time. It's a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland. The programme brought to you from Turf Moor, and half-time we'll also have a competition question, and the winner will receive a smashing prize, a book, Visions of Sport. I gave away 1 copy of Visions of Sport yesterday, and Saturday Sport came from the Victoria Ground and Hartlepool's great victory over Bury. And this afternoon we've got another copy of Visions of Sport to give away as well. Father Christmas must be working for BBC Radio Cleveland Sport. Far side of play, Neil Cox. Cox just couldn't keep the ball in play. Lanson's flag indicates it's gone out, and therefore it's going to be a throw-in for Burnley, level with the edge of the home side's penalty area. The ground here, standing areas just behind the goal defended by Alan Miller. We're in the main stand, seated area. Also seats behind the goal as Alan Moore attacks now. Inside the area it goes towards Paul Wilkinson. Wilkinson is just denied, and the game breaking up again. But Middlesbrough win it back again through Neil Cox. Fires in the cross now, and John Henry Conger on the end of it. The ball's going to cross the byline. Goes out of play. Marlon Beresford just puts it down and takes the goal kick for Burnley. Thinking about Burnley and their record so far in the first division, struggling to come to terms with football in a higher league. They've won just twice at home at Turf Moor, drawing 5 times and losing on 2 occasions. They began their season, of course, at Ayresome Park. And Middlesbrough defeated Burnley by 2-0. 2 goals on that sunny afternoon by John Henry. And John Henry's got Middlesbrough's goal this afternoon as well. It's Burnley 0, it's Middlesbrough 1. It's a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland, and we're 12 minutes away from half-time. Burnley with possession. Midway inside the Middlesbrough half of the field. Adrian Randall comes back towards halfway line area, and Mark Winstanley being closed down by Paul Wilkinson. So Winstanley feeds it out towards the far side of play at Wayne Dowell. Burnley allowed to play with the ball in the central midfield area. Middlesbrough getting plenty of players back defending behind the ball. One of them is Derek White. He half wins the challenge. Alan Harper looks to try and guide Burnley forward again. Comes infield to Adrian Randall. Again, Middlesbrough dropping off just a little bit till Alan Moore goes to close down far side of play. They're allowing Burnley possession in an area of the field that won't do too much damage to Middlesbrough's back line. Mark Winstanley looks out towards far side of play. And Liam Robinson crosses out. Liam Robinson being shadowed by 3 Middlesbrough defenders, and he comes infield with a clever ball there, finds Adrian Randall, and Adrian Randall forces for Burnley a corner. So pressure mounting, and we're 10 minutes away from half-time. Composure needed, Jamie, inside the penalty area. There's plenty of green shirts back inside the box. Nigel Pearson trying to command the defence.
Yeah, that's right. That's one thing this season we have been is very, very strong from corners, and we've given very little away, and I'm sure we won't today.
As the cross comes in, almost after saying something like that, you expect the home side to score. But Middlesbrough clear, and picked up though by Steve Davis. Shot takes deflection, goes over the top of the bar. another corner. But Middlesbrough dropping off effectively. They're allowing Burnley possession, an area of the field that you don't expect too much damage to come from.
Yeah, that's one thing. The system does allow the opposing team a lot of possession very deep. And I mean, what the system is sort of saying is, let the Burnley back four and the midfield, see if they're good enough to beat us. And at the moment, they're not.
Corner comes in, cleared towards the edge of the area, and Alan Moore lofts the ball forward. John Henry will set up in pursuit of this one. Henry tries to go round Wayne Dowell. Referee not up with play. The linesman is flagging for infringement. The referee allows play to continue because Burnley do have possession, and they struck the ball down this near side. In front of our commentary position now with Steve Davis. Davis's ball is funneled into the channel there, but Steve Vickers reads it. Robbie Mustoe goes back and turns to Nigel Pearson. And Middlesbrough have their 1-goal advantage. It's a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland. And Burnley, through central defender Mark Winstanley, turns it back to Marlon Beresford, the Burnley goalkeeper. He lofts the clearance towards halfway line area. A challenge goes in from Nigel Pearson. The referee didn't like it. There'll be a free kick for Burnley. Robbie Mustoe has a little word with referee Philip Wright from Northwich. The referee, though, is quite adamant that it is a free kick. And will it be a booking as well?
Well, I think that's a disgraceful decision, to be fair. I mean, Nigel Pearson, it's the first time he's gone up there, and he's been a little bit late. And if it is a booking, I think it's very, very poor.
Not sure whether it will be. Nigel Pearson is standing and dominating over the top of the referee's head. I think the ref's changed his mind.
Yeah, I think the ref was a little bit scared on that occasion.
And just as well, because it would have been very harsh indeed had the yellow card been produced. Burnley quite rightly were given the free kick. Whether it was a yellow card offence, I'm not too sure about that. It wasn't, in fact. The referee kept the yellow card in the pocket. As the free kick works its way inside Middlesbrough's penalty area, the ball's spinning off the surface, and Alan Miller picks up possession for Middlesbrough. It's a soccer special. It's Burnley 0. It's Middlesbrough 1. You're listening to BBC Radio Cleveland. Our special guest this afternoon, Jamie Pollock. We've also got Gary Gill with us as well for his views at half-time. Making up the commentary team, Gordon Cox. I'm still a little bit annoyed that in Gordon Cox's portion of the commentary that a Middlesbrough goal came. I think there's a bit of a competition going on between Gordon and I as who can commentate on the most Middlesbrough goals this season. Gordon's commentated on one this afternoon. It's a vital one. It's Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. Middlesbrough defending though, as Gary Parkinson floats in the cross. All the current blue shirts came towards the near post area and it went far. It's cleared then up towards Paul Wilkinson, just short of the centre circle. Goes back to Robbie Mustoe. The green shirts moving forward. Now near side of play, it's Curtis Fleming up towards halfway line, and Alan Moore looks to try and work an angle, but he's closed down very quickly by Wayne Dowell, who's already picked up a booking. So Wayne Dowell's got to watch the challenges from behind such as that. But he won the ball cleanly to throw in for Middlesbrough, which is taken towards the chest of John Henry. Back it goes to Curtis Fleming. Fleming's long ball goes on, and Steve Davis, I thought for a moment he was going to ask for goalkeeper Beresford to come out, and Beresford just ignored Davis, so Davis has to clear it, and Robbie Mustoe wins it for Middlesbrough, midway inside the Burnley half of the field, and if it goes towards the halfway line area, Liam Robinson glides the ball towards Adrian Heath, far side, diminutive figure of Adrian Heath inside the Middlesbrough area. His cross comes in, there's a loud appeal for handball as Nigel Pearson blocked the cross. A corner is all that's given. The Burnley fans are shouting for everything this afternoon.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, to be fair, that was a very silly claim for a penalty there. Obviously, I'm biased, but to be fair, he's just crossed the ball, and it's just it hit Nigel in the stomach and gone out for the corner.
Good defensive work from Nigel Pearson.
Very good.
Corner is going to be taken over on the far side of play. Right-footed, floating towards the near post. It's won by Nigel Pearson. Drops down. Adrian Randall with possession for Burnley. Feeds down towards the far side. And again, Adrian Heath wins it. Heath touched it on, and the Middlesbrough's back line moves up. An offside decision, and you're applauding.
Yeah, that was absolutely brilliant defensive play there. It was a bit of a silly run from the man, and we've caught him offside. Brilliant.
We've had silly shouts and silly run. It's the pantomime season, I suppose, is it?
Yes, it's a bit of a silly game.
But Middlesbrough winning. It's a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland. Programme brought to you from Turf Moor. Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1 is the score. John Henry, the goal scorer. Keeping up to date with developments at Elm Park, where it remains Reading 0, Wolves 1. Steve Bull, the goal scorer. At the Hawthorns, it's West Brom 0, Luton 0. And they don't start the Premiership until 4 o'clock. They've got a lie-in on a Sunday, the Premiership players. At Stamford Bridge, it will be Chelsea in 9th place against Liverpool, who are in 5th position. Far side, from our commentary position, that's the Burnley left-hand side. It's a throw-in for the home team, which Wendell is going to take. Throws it in now, gets the return ball, just crosses the halfway line area, flicks it forward, and knocks against the back there of Alan Moore, and goes out of play for yet another throw-in for the home side. Middlesbrough's record, then, we're seeing at Burnley, not particularly good over the years. The last league victory in 1952. There was a famous League Cup victory, though, in 1975. Willie Madron and David Mills amongst the goal scorers for Middlesbrough. I will remember it was a fairly poor night with regard to weather conditions, but a good night celebrating on the way home as Middlesbrough advanced into the next round of that competition. Will it be a fairly good journey home, with Middlesbrough picking up 3 points from Turf Moor this afternoon and consolidating their position at the top. As a long-range shot comes in from Steve Davis, which took a deflection, it goes over the top of the bar. So we won't talk about celebrating anything at all, at least until the referee blows the final whistle, because we've got our hands slapped for commentary at Elm Park when we're celebrating a Middlesbrough victory against Reading, and then of course Reading scored their equaliser very late in the game indeed. It's Turf Moor this afternoon. It's a soccer special on BBC Radio Cleveland. It's Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1. The home side of the corner, whipped in now. Nigel Pearson wins in the air. Adrian Randall picks up second possession for Burnley, pushed it out towards far side, and Adrian Heath. Heath in turn to Mark Winstanley up in support of the attack. His cross takes deflection. It goes out of play. And the linesman gives a goal kick, and the referee gives a corner. The referee then gives a goal kick, and I think Adrian Heath is going to have a word with the linesman over on the far side. But the right decision in the end.
Yeah, I mean, we won't argue with that. It gives us a chance to get the players further up the field and just take the pressure off us a little bit. Burnley have applied a few minutes of pressure there, and it'd be nice just to get the ball cleared.
Alan Miller for Middlesbrough just puts the ball down inside the 6-yard box. He looks Alan Miller, the Middlesbrough goalkeeper, looks the calmest man on the pitch when the corners are taken, when the ball's fired in the air. He's a tall man. He's well aware of his own ability. He seems to just breathe authority inside the area.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, Alan's very confident, and as you say, it's infectious, and it's passed on to defenders, and I think that's why we've been defending so well this season.
Curtis Fleming, one of the defenders, he's tackled by Liam Robinson. It goes out of play. So Curtis Fleming seems thankfully to have recovered from the knock he took a few moments ago, and also fully recovered Nigel Pearson at the heart of the defence. They've been the only real problems for Middlesbrough in the first 42 minutes so far. The Boro are a goal ahead through John Hendry. As Gordon Cox was quite right with saying, John Hendry's 12th goal of the season, and Nigel Pearson turns the ball back to goalkeeper Alan Miller. Miller to Nigel Pearson. Pearson just gains a yard and comes up towards Robbie Mustoe. Mustoe to Alan Moore. Middlesbrough crossing the halfway line, but the eventual pass from Brian Robson to Neil Cox wasn't good, and the manager apologises to the right full-back. The pass from Brian Robson just a little bit off. Brian Robson, though, returning to first-team action for the first time since mid-September, so forgive the player-manager that particular pass there. He's now watching. He's giving so much enthusiasm in his play, infectious enthusiasm, as Jamie Pollock was talking about during the aside this afternoon. So much different than last Saturday, and the disappointment, of course, of the home defeat at the hands of Southend. Well and truly out of the system now, and Alan Moore tries to win it for Middlesbrough. It's turned, though, towards Marlon Beresford in goal for Burnley. A couple of minutes short of the half-time whistle. I was going to say short of the half-time whistle. I should rethink again, because yesterday at the Victoria Ground, the referee added on 5 minutes of stoppage time at the end of the first and the second half. So it was quite the longest spell of commentary they've done during the course of the season so far. Near side of play. Gary Parkinson takes the throw-in for Burnley, gives it to Marlon Beresford. And this formation we're talking about, Jim, I was watching last night on BBC on Match of the Day. Nottingham Forest employed a similar formation at Manchester United. They're allowing the home side possession, as we say, in areas of the field that won't cause too much damage, getting plenty of players behind the ball and able just to attack it from deep.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, it is a very hard system to break down. I mean, we've seen it, a similar form of it last week, and when Southend came and played it, you know, especially in this division, I think it's very hard for teams to break that formation down, because we've got numbers behind the ball, and we can hit them on the break, and that suits us fine. And as I say, they've got to come up with the ideas to break us down.
And of course, leaving upfield as well, Alan Moore at the moment and Paul Wilkinson, so Burnley can't commit too many players forward, otherwise they're going to be caught on the break.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, as I say, Alan Moore today's been in frightening form. He's been outstanding, and I'm sure at half-time their manager will be warning their players to tighten up on Alan.
Yeah, the Burnley manager, Jimmy Mullen, have 1 or 2 words to say. Should Burnley go in at half-time? It's about 60 seconds away, still a goal down. Burnley trying to attack the open terrace area just to the right-hand side. Ball goes out of play, and it's a throw-in that Gary Parkinson is going to take. I'm sure Gary Parkinson would be delighted were Middlesbrough to get promoted at the end of the season after playing over 200 league games for the Boro in the era of Bruce Rioch. But equally this afternoon, he's a Burnley player and wants Burnley to get back into the game. And Gary Parkinson now on the overlap, close to the band. Cross comes whipped in. It's knocked out of play by Derek White for a corner. So Burnley's corner count increases. And Gary Parkinson went on a tremendous run there.
Yeah, it was a brilliant run there. And to be fair, John matched him quite well. But as you say, it was a good bit of skill on part. He's put a good ball in, but he just never beat that front post. And I think that's one thing we've got at the moment, is that we are outnumbering in the box, and they're finding it hard.
Alan Miller comes out and punches clear the corner across when it came in. Comes out to near side of play again though, and David Ayres. Ayres tries to work the ball to his left foot. That cross goes in, and for the first time this afternoon Nigel Pearson didn't win a header. Bit of a scramble, the edge of the area, but John Henry, and Henry again half clears, and players miss-kicking, so we could be aware of 1-2 problems with footing out there on Turf Moor. It looks a pretty good pitch. When a dreadful cross comes in from Adrian Randall, we're trying to blame the players' footwear. 1 or 2 lax moments out on the pitch itself. Soccer Special, BBC Radio Cleveland. Programme brought to you from Turf Moor, where it's Burnley 0, Middlesbrough 1, and we're deep into stoppage time at the end of the first half. John Henry's goal on 14 minutes, still proving crucial. It's Brian Robson who played John Henry in. John Henry took the chance very well indeed, but he's also spurned another couple of opportunities, and Paul Wilkinson's had a header that's hit against the top of the crossbar. So were we to be greedy, we could say that Middlesbrough should be approximately 4 goals ahead, as it is for just 1. And coming forward are Burnley, crossing the halfway line area now. Curtis Fleming wins it for Middlesbrough. High ball goes forward. Paul Wilkinson can't read it. He couldn't quite get there. And Burnley just tidying up on the halfway line. It's a crunching challenge from Brian Robson. Brian Robson claimed that he won the ball as Alan Harper went down. And Brian Robson is being spoken to by referee Philip Wright. It could be a yellow card for Brian Robson. Yes, it is. A yellow card. It's a little bit of pain for Alan Harper, who was caught there by Brian Robson. Committed challenge from Robbo. The Middlesbrough supporters from the far side. Just a little bit quiet. The Burnley supporters are certainly letting Brian Robson know exactly what they think of him. There's a challenge in the midfield. The midfield player's got to go for, and he's got to try and win it. Is the free kick for Burnley. Gary Parkinson floats out towards far side. Neil Cox comes in, half clears. Steve Vickers fully clears out towards far side of play by Adrian Randall. Randall fires it back to Wayne Dowell. Dowell, Middlesbrough pick it up through Neil Cox. It could have a real break on here. Neil Cox, as John Henry sets up and accelerates. The good covering challenge came in from Steve Davis. Back towards goalkeeper Marlon Beresford. Beresford moves out towards far side of play, and Wayne Dowell down the line looking for Liam Robinson. Because Robinson being pushed in the back. The Burnley fans far side furious. The referee, I'm not sure whether he's awarded the free kick. It's just merely a throw-in. Throw-in comes in now, and I can see Gary Parkinson near side of play in a lot of space indeed, but Alan Harper instead just tucks the ball inside the centre circle and allows Steve Davis the opportunity to push the ball out far side. There's too much pace on that, and Liam Robinson can't stop the ball crossing the line. It's a goal kick for Middlesbrough, and the first half goes on and on. 48 minutes have now been played. Soccer Special on BBC Radio Cleveland. Programme brought to you from Turf Moor. Something to look forward to at half-time.